Hello, everyone. Hi, Jonna.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, Håkan. Hi, everyone that's who are watching and tuning us. Tuning to Azure User Group Sweden today live. Thank you for spending time today, this Saturday, to learn about our session. How are you, Håkan?
Yes. So I'm really excited here to learn a little bit more here about a very important topic about security. But
Yes,
before
yeah.
before we go into all of that, we have some information here about our user group. We can share.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have. Yes. So go ahead, Jonna.
Yes. So before we get started with our session today, we would like to remind everyone about our community code of conduct at Azure User Group Sweden. So we want to remind everyone to be nice and friendly, listen with purpose and be thoughtful, be respectful to others, seek to understand and not criticize, be curious and be open to share your ideas, and be inclusive and respectful in your comments and your questions. You can read more about our code of conduct on the link provided below. Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so I think
Uh,
then it's time here to introduce our speaker or welcome our speaker. So let us bring him to stage.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Sergey. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yep.
We're great. And
Yeah.
I noticed that we're all Azure heroes today. We're having Azure heroes hoodies.
Yeah. So I'm a bit different one, but yeah, my background is also different. So
Yes.
that's I think because of that, I'm a speaker.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So let
Welcome to
me.
Azure User Group Sweden.
Thank you.
So let me just introduce here a little bit more formally here. So Sergey Chubarov is a security and cloud expert and also an instructor with more than 15 years experience on Microsoft technologies. And in his day-to-day job, he helps companies to securely embrace cloud technologies. And he's also a frequent speaker at local and international conferences like Global Azure, DEF CON, Wild West Hacking Fest, Security B-Sides, Workplace Ninja, Midwest Management Summit, and Hack in the Box. And one thing to notice here is that Sergey prefers live demos and cyber attack simulations.
Exciting.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yes, I look forward to learn from your session, Sergey. And we would like to welcome everyone. We have our friends saying hi already here. Audrey, hi everyone. We have Ashish, happy Easter, and Audrey again. And thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah, so maybe it's time to learn something now.
Oh, it means I should start to speak.
Yeah, let us add you here too. Do you want to say a couple of words before we start
Yeah.
here? Just
Yes.
give a brief overview of what you will present, Sergey.
Yeah.
Say again, please.
Yeah, I was just saying, do you want to give an introduction into what you will be presenting?
Yeah, sure. So in this session, what I'm going to do, probably most of you are really familiar with containers and you work with that, you deploy your applications there. But quite often, and we hear a lot about security that must be protected well. We check some boxes to make it better protected sometimes, sometimes not. But none of you can tell what bad may happen, or even if they tell you about that, there are no proofs. So what I want to do, I want to show you how it may happen. So what attackers may do to compromise the environment, how they can compromise the containers, Kubernetes, so all this infrastructure. And based on that, you may realize, oh, so we should put more attention on security and take care of our containers and their protection. And I will do all of this with live demos, like I prefer to do it. And I'm gonna show first attack simulation. So mostly it will be attack simulation, and then somewhere in the end we're gonna cover briefly about protection.
That sounds really, really interesting.
Yes,
I
interesting.
will give the stage
Yes.
over to you, Sergey. But before we do that, I just want to remind everyone that after the sessions, we will also have something we call an Azure Fika, where people can join a Zoom meeting, and then we can discuss more about the topics that we've talked about here in the session. So best of luck, Sergey.
Sure.
Yes,
Thank you.
you.
One last moment. If you have any questions, go ahead, ask them during the session. But I'm gonna handle them in the end. So yeah, it's fine if you just ask something along the way. But I'm gonna just take that and answer a question later. All right. So now let's get started. Thank you for introduction, and I don't think I need to add anything. Just maybe a few things about my certificates or my LinkedIn if you want to follow me. I mean, add me to my network, to your network. Um, um, Everything else you already know, and even this picture, maybe I have a different hairstyle, but anyway. So, as I mentioned before, I prefer live demos, and I'm not really a big fan of slides. So, slides you will see here in this session, but not too much. I have, I think, 3 slides. So that will be the first one, empty white slide. To be fair, this slide will have some animation. And here on the slide, first of all, what I want to do, I want to explain you how containers, how our like life cycle works for those who maybe not really aware of that, maybe don't work with containers a lot. And then I'm going to jump to demos and show you about possible problem with containers. So when we work with containers, what we need, what may look like a life cycle. By the way, I'm not going to discuss here like a DevOps pipeline. So I will just tell you about important things related only to containers. And I'm going to explain you a manual process. So of course, we will automate that in our DevOps pipeline, but I'm not going to handle here. So first of all, when work containers, we must create container image. Yeah, of course, it's based on your application and base image and so on. And so there are maybe steps before when you develop the code and you create this image automatically. But here, in my case, I will use that as the first step because that's where we really start to work with containers. So we create container image because if we want to deploy container, we can do it with container image. But we want to do it in the cloud, in Azure. So that's why we want to push this image to container registry, ACR. So to be fair, the primary goal of this slide is to explain the difference between different components in containers, because quite often people are confused about all of those acronyms like ACR, ACI, AKS. So we push our image to container registry where image will be stored. So that's called ACR or container registry, where images will be stored, but this time in the cloud. And then when I want to deploy application, when I want to deploy container, I will use one of the services. First one will be container instance, which is like quite simple, quite straightforward. That's where you cannot configure too much. And so we will take image and deploy that container from that image in ACI. Or if you want to make it like a more advanced deployment, and that's the most common deployment of containers nowadays in Azure, we can use Kubernetes or AKS, where we can run thousands of containers, and we can orchestrate them and just configure how we want to use resources. So Kubernetes, that's the most common way to deploy containers nowadays, in the cloud at least. Not only the cloud, but everywhere in Azure at least. So, and probably Kubernetes will be our primary target because it may contain hundreds or thousands of containers. Now, so first, from here, what I want to do, I think this slide is quite clear, and so this process is quite straightforward. Again, so many steps may be taken before image creation because you need to develop the actual application, but we are not touching it here. We just talk about security and our actual containers. All right, so now let me jump to demo, and let me first show you the most simple hack, how we can compromise Kubernetes and containers in those Kubernetes. It will be quite obvious. So let me show you this virtual this machine. So when we manage Kubernetes, I would say any Kubernetes administrator has the tool that's called kubectl. Let me show you that tool. So let me just go to here and say CTL. So kubectl. And if I run this tool, let's say get pods. So let's wait for the response. And come on, say something. All right, so while we're waiting, let me open CMD another machine and do the same. kubectl get pods. So it says you must be connected here. At the same time, it was connected without any questions on another machine. So why? Why it didn't ask me for any passwords or usernames or whatever? So the reason why, so kubectl, how it works, so it stores the config file on the disk. So what I can do if I'm an attacker, and if I get an access to a workstation of administrator, what I can do, I can find the user profile of administrator and find here a folder called .kube, and just take files from it. So if I take this config, or I can even take cache for simplicity to speed things up. So let's just take those files, copy that to another machine. Find my profile, .kube here, it's empty. Let me extract everything. And let's try again. And yeah, now I have access to this Kubernetes cluster. And of course, I can get access to actual containers if I wish. So for example, I can say kubectl, kubectl minus IT, exec first, minus IT. And then I can choose then any of those containers. So let me copy this one. And now I have a shell to actual container. So that's the quick hit. And if we can have access to machine where administrator use kubectl, we can just easily copy the config file and then get access to Kubernetes and do whatever you want there in the cloud. But I don't want to finish session here because that's too obvious. Let's take a look what else may happen. What else may happen? So now after this, let me switch to the next slide. And so what else bad may happen with containers? So quite often when I work with companies, and quite often I realize that those companies, they try to protect Kubernetes because their applications are running there, but they forget to control permissions in container registry. I would say in container security, container registry must be one of the key components. Because containers, they deploy from images, and all images are stored in container registry. So if permissions in container registry are not configured properly, then what may happen next? Attacker may pull image from container registry. Then image may be trojanized. So it means that attacker may put their own Trojan to the image. And then I can push, as an attacker, I can push that image back to registry, and it will look the same. So for company, for in case of basic configuration of container registry, it will look the same. So after this, I can just wait before company deploy application. And so containers that will run in the registry or in Kubernetes or container instance, they will be trojanized. So company will run poison containers. Now let me jump back to demo and show you this process. That process will take a while, and so that will for the rest of the session, I'm going to show you this demo. Now let me go back to my machine, and let me change my folder to container. Oops. Oh, not C, sorry, D. Yeah, I'll double check if I don't have any traces from the previous demos. Yeah, I do. Let me move that. So let's go back to the slide. So let's take a first step. Let's try to pull image from a container registry. To do it, I can use this command: docker pull, provide the registry name, and then they say I wanna save that with this name, hello-orange.tar. By the way, I already have image in container registry. Let me just go back real quick and show you that. If I go to AZ hack, go to repositories, I have container imaged here already. Now let me try to pull that. Error response, no such image. Let's try again. Oh, unauthorized. Authentication required. So this is the important part. So let me try again. Unauthorized. So I must authenticate. This is important thing. So somehow I must have access to container registry. So it can't be just anonymous user. If I just know the name and nothing else, I will not be able to do it. But if I have some kind of credentials of this company, I can try to download that. So let's do it. So let's say I wanna log in. Come on, login succeed, and let's try again. Fingers crossed. No such image. Let's wait. Let's try it again. That looks like it's working now. Let's go back. Nope, not yet. Refresh here. Nope. It's taking some time. Oh, here you go. Yeah, not super fast, but yeah. Now we have this container image downloaded from registry. So let me extract that. And let's take a look. So now we have this container registry extracted. And if I look at to any folder, so I have here JSON file and layer.tar. I can go to any folder and I can see the same structure everywhere. I can open any of them. Let's just open any of them and open with zip. And look at this. So that's my HTML page from my container image. Let me extract that layer, one of those layers. It doesn't really matter which one. And what I can do, I can add one more folder here. Can I see the folder structure? Let me go back. And here I have my folder USR, share, library. And here is my my shared library. So that's develop library that will give me a reverse shell when this image will start to work. So let me just copy that to container image here, yeah, layer, and place it here. Nice. So we are good here. But before I zip it, before I create this container image again, let me just check one more thing. Let me go to PowerShell, cd into this folder. And so what I want to do, I want to know this file hash of this layer.tar. So let me find get file hash layer. Oh, sorry, layer tar. So let me copy that. You will see later on why do I need that. I'm gonna copy that. Now let me zip this one. Let's say zip at archive. It must be tar. Yes, okay. And let me replace that. And so again, let me get the new file hash because I will need that later on. You will see when. All right, so I can remove this layer folder. So what I need to do next, so now I physically have Trojan in image, but this image will not run automatically. I must make some modifications. Let me open Notepad here. And so I must make some modification here. What I must do here, first of all, I must add some parameters. Those parameters. So that will preload. It's a Linux container, so I'll preload this library. And so when this library will be preloaded, it asks me for attributes. So attribute number 1, the remote address, which is my Linux machine, which is my attacker machine, and a remote port, which is my attacker port. That's it here, but not everything I need to do. So do you remember I copied this hash? So if you look here, I see a list of hashes of all layers. And what I need to do, I must change the old hash to the new hash. So let me do it real quick. First of all, it must be a lowercase. And here in PowerShell, I have only uppercase. Let me convert that to lowercase. Yep, that. And change here. Save. All right, I'm almost ready. Now I just need to build the new image. Let's call it Troj. Hello, Troj. And let me paste it here. So now I have new image, and they're almost the same, just a 10 kilobytes difference. What I want to do now, I want to test this new image. So first of all, let me go back to my CMD. Now what I want to do, I want to load this image. And so Docker load, and the name will be with my registry and the container in the image name, and also it will be done from the file hello world troj.tar. Maybe that's sorry. I think I missed something here. Give me a moment. Maybe like that. Oh no, give me a moment. I'm gonna check Docker load. Request load from standard in, but standard in is empty. Thank you. Docker load minus help. So I read from archive instead of standard in. Yeah, so that's what I need to do. Sorry, I don't need this name. So I think my notes are wrong. All right. So now if I go to my image list, oh, why I have 2 of them? Let me try to remove them just in case to make sure I have the right one. Oh yeah, I know I have to. Let me just import again, load again. Fingers crossed. Yeah. So now I have this image loaded. And now let's test that. Let's test. So what I want to do, I want to configure a listener on my Linux machine on port 4444. And so next step will be run that. So let me say docker run map port 8080 of my local machine to port 80 of container, just because my port 80 is busy here. And let me run that. Yeah, look at this. I'm in container. But for end users, for those who work with this, it should work like a regular application. Let's test that. Let's say localhost 8080. Yeah, that's working. So if I load that, it will transparently work, and and end users will think like, oh, that's a regular application. But in parallel, on the background, I will have access. I will have a shell to this container. So let me kill that shell. I don't need it anymore right now. What I know. Let me go back, by the way, to my slides and tell you where we are. So now what I did, I pulled image from container registry. I Trojanized that, and so next step will be push it back to registry. So let's do it. I'm gonna say, oh, sorry, let me kill that first. Come on. Oh, finally. Let me open CMD again. So let's push that. Let's say docker push and this one. And it should not, oh yeah, look at this. It's just pushing only one layer. I don't need to push the whole image. So it means that the same image already exists. I just pushing the changes. And yeah, that's it. All right. We're all good. Now we are, so our Trojanized image here. If I check that on the web in Azure, let me close that. Refresh. So it's the same image. So it made some changes, right? So I made some changes just a few minutes ago or seconds ago, but that's the same image. All right. So now let's move on. What I want to do now, I want to just like wait, like when company deploy this container image in their container instance on or Kubernetes, and I should be able to get a shell to one of those services. Let's do it. So let's start from container instance, because container instance, that's quite a simple service, quite isolated from many others, and unless you deploy containers as a group. So container instance is not super useful to get a shell to it, but let's just test it. And then we'll focus more on Kubernetes. I'm going to go back as usual to my demo. And this time I'm going to switch to the portal. Yeah. Configure listener and deploy container instance. Container instance. It's called the ACI. And I'm going to take image from container registry, and all the rest I can just leave default. Not really sure that's the right one. Oh, so that's the VA solution. Damn it. That's VA start to analyze that container. Which come on, stop it. Right, so let's wait a few minutes. So when you push image to container registry, and you have VA solution enabled, it will start to analyze. It will start to analyze your container. It may give you some extra shells. That's not what I want, to be fair. So let's wait a few minutes before this VA calm down. Yeah, so I think it's finished. And let me try to. Oh no, it wasn't. All right, what it is? Yeah, so it's definitely not the. I'm still a root. Host name. Oh, I've lost the shell. At least so maybe. All right, so now it should. Yeah, let's say restart. And now it should give me the shell to the container instance, not to VA solution. All right, so that will take some time. And while we're doing that, So let me go back to slides. So container instance, again, usually it's not super useful to get the shell to container instance. I just want to check here that my shell works not only locally, but also in the cloud. You saw that I get some remote shell from some other IP addresses. But let's just verify that my shell is working from Azure. After this, I'm going to switch to Kubernetes and show you how it will look like in Kubernetes. So let me go back. Oh yeah, now we have the shell from right IP address, not from 52, but from 20. And this time, again, we're root. But this time, yes, we are in container instance, host name, sandbox host, something. So again, as I mentioned before, container instance, not super useful unless you are deploying the group of containers. But this time, just an isolated container. So I'm going to kill that shell. But the most important for me was that I got a shell to Azure service. What we can also check if application is working normally. Yes, that's working. So for users, it's still the regular normal application. And now let's do something else. Let's jump to Kubernetes and start to play with Kubernetes. First of all, let me show you what do I have in Kubernetes already. I have very well-known application, voting app, cats, dogs. I can vote here. You probably, if you work with containers before in Azure, you know this app. That's the most famous one for testing Kubernetes in Azure. So I already have this application deployed. What I want to do, I want to deploy one more with my container, with my Trojanized container. And so let me go back to this machine. And so let's say kubectl apply -f, and so you can call com YAML. Let me check if I have a listener. Let's deploy that. Yeah. Yeah, let's take a look. What do we have here? Let's click refresh. So yeah, it's there. It's there. So now I have a shell to Kubernetes. What I can do with Kubernetes? First of all, what should I do? I should add path variables, because if I run my commands, I don't want to specify the full path. So let me just add this. Add more path to variables to variable. And next step will be install curl. So why do you need to install curl? You will see later on, but let me do this first step, install curl. By the way, this shell will not be super interactive, so sometimes I may not see when I got the actual result. So sometimes I will be blind here. I just need to wait, and but just it may just hand and not give me the full output. I hope it will be fine here in curl. It says done. All right, let's the next step. Now, when quite interesting thing happen, in any container or every container, I can find service account token. So here it is. Let me take this token and copy that. Let me paste that to this notepad. So let's take a look what this token is. So then, generally speaking, probably you can recognize this as JWT token. So if I just paste it here and try to decode, it says this token for service account for default namespace and the secret name called default token and6 DNC. So let me go back to Azure portal and go to Kubernetes and let me just show you where can you find those tokens yourself. If you go to, I think it must be in configuration. Yeah. So, and go to secrets. Let me filter by namespace and find default namespace. I can see this token here. Let me open that. And here you can find this token. But that's what you can do as an Azure administrator. But I found that as an attacker without admin access to Azure portal. So what I can do with this token, let me go back to, let me go back here. I can set up the variable, let's say export, and let me just paste this too. I think it's in my clipboard, so yeah. Now I can do some of the queries with this token. Let me check a list of APIs, and I can see the list of APIs. Unfortunately, for me, this token will not be able to go any further here. So I will not be able to, look for pods, look for policies, and so on. All right, let's try something else. Let's say I would like to, let me change that to version. And here I can find out Kubernetes version, v1.19.11. Let's check if that's the right version. Let me go back, click Overview, and yeah, that 19.11. Generally speaking, that's it. Yeah, of course, if this version is for some reason vulnerable, maybe something else we can do. Probably not really common in Azure to have the vulnerabilities in your infrastructure. I think at least if you update that properly. Probably that's what I can do with this token. So the version, that's the most useful thing I can find, because if you check the permissions, you're not a cluster admin. All right, but also what I can do, I know that other containers running on this Kubernetes. What if I try to look for other containers? So let me first install a tool called nmap. So this tool we use that's a port scanner. I think any pen tester learned that just when they just start the pen testing journey. So super well known port scanner. What we can do, we can scan our network and try to find out other containers and what ports are open for those containers. For the sake of time, I'm not going to scan the full network because it will take a while. I'm going to show you that I have two containers, Azure Vault Back and Azure Vault Front. So let's take a look at backend. So backend has an IP address 10.0.201 and 183. Let me try to, I think that's it, and I can just continue. Oh, no, not it. As I mentioned before, so the output may be not very accurate. All right, let me just, at this moment. So what do I want to do? I want to scan this IP address, and I can scan all ports, but in my case, I will scan 6379, and also I'm going to remove pin because that will not, the pin will not work. All right, so that should work now. Let me try to copy and paste here. Fingers crossed. Yeah, so look at this. It says port 6379 was open. What it is? If I say port 6379, what it is? Oh, it says Redis. Redis server. All right, so let me go back. If that's the Redis server, what I can do, I can install Redis tools. Yes, I want to install them. And let me connect to the machine with Redis tools. Let me type info. Yep, and there. I have access to Redis database. So let's take a look. What do we have there? Let's check keys. And we have cats and dogs, of course, cats and dogs. Now let's take a look at cats. Get cats, 0. Get dogs, 0. So now what I want to do, I want to vote. So let's say cat 1, and let's get cats again. Oh, now we have 1. Last command, and here I will need your help. I'm gonna type monitor, And I'm going to ask you, can you please open this application and vote? So please help me. So here's the address. I don't know if I type it in the chat, or let me just this address here. Please vote. Please help me with voting. Just vote for dogs or for cats. Yona, I know you will vote for dogs. Oh, I know who's doing that. Dogs, dogs, dogs. Yeah, and you can see here, I can see in real time what's going on with this database and all data which is coming. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I know I'm not talking to myself only, and also you're here with me. All right, so that's what I can do. That's what I can do with other containers. So if I can get access to one container, I can have access to others. And so that's where I would like to get back to slides. And so I hope that that diagram, that slide was pretty clear, and the demo I showed you before was clear. Now, the last slide, I promised you that we will discuss quickly what you can do with that. To be fair, I will not really give you many demos here, but we'll briefly show you what you may also add to your protections to make it to make it more secure. First of all, pull and push images. So here, first of all, container registry, one of the most important pieces. Make sure that you are very accurate with permissions and who can pull, who can push, because yeah, thus regular users can do that. You may be in trouble. So make sure that you configure permissions for registry very accurately. You are very accurate with privileges. Next one, we may use private links and whitelisting. So that will restrict operations like pull and push from specific public IP addresses, or we can block public pull and push at all and just allow it through private links. But to do that, you must pay a bit more for container registry. So let me show you what I mean here. So if I go if I go to container registry and look at this. So we have SKU. So mine is basic. But if your SKU is, how's it called, the most advanced? Don't remember, premium, I think. But if you have premium, what you may find is whitelisting and private links networking here. So you may configure. So by again, so I must upgrade to premium if I want to make more restrictions. But again, you must pay more. I don't want. But in the real world, of course, it would be a nice idea to protect better. Next one, so cache credentials, when I steal cache credentials on Kubernetes, so make sure that users, they don't have some extra access to workstations. Next one, image poisoning. So what we can also do to prevent poisoning, we can enable content trust in our container registry and sign images. Let me show you that. If I find here content trust, again, I must have premium SKU, but in this case, you will not trust any image. So the trust must be deserved in that case. Next, we can also use VA tools, vulnerability assessment tools, to find out maybe not the specific Trojan, but also possible problems with your container images. So you may use VA tools. First, the set of tools we may use are third-party from a company called Aquasec. And they provide you also a number of free tools like KubeHunter, KubeBench, Trivi. So you may scan your images with that. You may scan your images you may scan your Kubernetes with Aquasec. Or what is also integrated, you may integrate VA Scanner from Defender. Azure Defender. So I didn't rename that, Defender for Cloud. So you may enable VA Scanner in Defender for Cloud. It will not detect the Trojan itself, but it may detect vulnerabilities in the container in general. Let me show that real quick. If I go to my Azure portal again and go to Defender and click to workload protection, container image scanning. And here it says, hey, you are using image which has number of vulnerabilities. Not my Trojan, no, because it's not vulnerability. But the actual operating system that you're using is Ubuntu 16, which is vulnerable in general. So maybe not the full protection from what I showed you, but will definitely make your container image better protected if you have vulnerability assessment enabled. By the way, actual Kubernetes, probably, let me check if I have any. Nope, not for Kubernetes. Actual Kubernetes also may detect some kind of attacks when you enable this Defender for cloud for containers. All right, so when I was able to install tools to containers, so what should you do? You should avoid root permissions in your container image in your container images. And finally, I was able to find other containers in Kubernetes because by default, they can just reach each other without any issues. What you can do, you may configure network policies and say, hey, this portion of containers cannot access that portion of containers, so you may configure isolation between them. All right, so, and I use my 45 minutes to the demo and this session. But of course, you may have your questions. So if you have them, go ahead. That's the best time to ask your questions. I'm ready to answer them.
Yes. Thank you, Sergey. It was a great live demo. I like it. No PowerPoint at all, just a few of them. Thank you.
I don't see you this time.
Oh,
okay.
I'm black again. Yeah, Håkan can ask the question.
Yes, I can probably ask the questions here.
I can check questions myself.
Oh, maybe he can't see any of us.
You have the same hoodie. Yeah, I like that. I have the same T-shirt, by the way.
Yes.
Yes, Sergey, can you hear us or
what
see
is
us?
Inside the reverse shell code? So a lot of code on the C language. If you're into Kubernetes, you can learn from important. Oh, you're here again.
Yeah, I did like restart my cam. I wasn't sure what was wrong, but can you see Håkan and me?
I don't hear you. I can see you. I don't hear you. I can't hear you. Containers are hosted over nodes as kernel of VM operating system is shared among all containers deployed. Oh, so first question, containers are hosted over nodes VMs as the kernel of VM operating system is shared among all containers deployed over it. So we can also get hold of node VM eventually. Not really. So not so we can get to other containers, but to escape from the container, that will be much harder option, and usually it's based on vulnerabilities. It's not just something simple that you may just get access to virtual machine. How do we check through CI/CD pipeline? Good question. So CI/CD pipeline, generally speaking, that's the same process, but just automated, right? And so when you configure your CI/CD, you also configure permissions. So who can you have service accounts that can do that. So I'm not really sure what do you want to check. But this process I showed you before, usually automated through pipelines. through Azure pipelines, or maybe use some other tools. So you will do the same, but not manually through pipelines, and make sure that the account you are using to create an image, to push that image, that you make sure that they have the minimum privileges, and other users they don't. But if you can clarify what do you mean by check, I can answer on that as well. So token you showed us, it's actual AD token. It's JWT token from Kubernetes. No, it's not Azure AD token. That's a token that generated when the node when deploy Kubernetes. So if you look at them, let me just give you a link to it. If you type some Kubernetes service account token. Manage service accounts. Here we go. And so you may read a bit more about those service accounts, and they will be generated automatically. So no, that was not the Azure AD token. What I used to decode the token, that's the website from Microsoft, jwt.ms. jwt.ms. So vulnerability in the image. Oh, vulnerabilities in the image. So there are different ways to do it. If you prefer to use third-party tools, then they may be integrated. So Aquasec may integrate with your pipeline, or you may look for vulnerabilities right in the cloud if you are using Defender for Cloud. So in Defender for Cloud, you may just go to expand that. Oh, come on. And just enable it for containers. And in this case, when you push your container to registry, it will analyze it for vulnerabilities. And do you remember when I just push my image, it started to give me some shells. Let me just show it again. Give me a moment. I'm gonna kill the image. You will see it again. All right, let me push that. Oops. Push. Yeah, this time it will take a bit more time to push because I will push that from scratch, not just the changes between. But now let me just configure listener, and you should see that soon it will start to give me some shells. And this shell will be a sandbox that will, try to analyze this container image for vulnerabilities. So the most Azure-based way is to use Defender for Cloud. And so when you just push the image, it will immediately start to analyze for vulnerabilities. Let's wait for a few more seconds. It should do it. Yep. Pushed. And so in a few seconds after this, let me just go here. It's here. And soon you will see that it start to connect to my machine from IP address 52 something something something, and that will be VA solution soon. 1 minute, maybe 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever.
Yes. While we're waiting, can we answer one more? We have another questions actually. Let's see. Here's one questions.
Are other repositories also vulnerable like ACR? ACR is not vulnerable. That's about misconfigurations. So that's about over privileges. And to be fair, when we talk about pen testing, quite often it's based not really on when you compromise vulnerabilities because developers did something wrong. I mean, developer of the software, but quite often administrators just for simplicity, because they don't want to manage all privileges, because it pain in the neck to give you this only small amount of permissions, and they just give you more than you need. And that's the problem. It's not about vulnerability. It's just when someone get more permissions than they need, and those privileges may be used for additional things. So I guess, I know what's going on. So it will not scan again. It just scanned just once per few hours. So probably that's the reason why I don't see a shell again. So go back here in a few hours and you should be able to see it.
Yes. We have another question, this one from Audrey. What tool did you use to decode the token?
I think we already discussed that.
Yeah, we did already. Okay, let's see what else. Here from Adam again. How would you design a protected environment for AKS ACR? I'm thinking about the private endpoints.
So ideally, of course, is to use a really let me just read the full. Routing traffic will say a hub with firewall placed on it to scan whatever traffic is coming in and out to container hosted services. Is it something that can be achieved? So yeah, of course. So first of all, what you may do, you may disable public access at all and deploy your applications through VPN, or even better, of course, express route if you have it. Yeah, of course, that's quite a lot of investment. Maybe do that, or maybe your development environment already in the cloud, so you don't need to deploy it somewhere on premises, and you may just push that from internally. Yeah, that's the first thing you may do. Disable public access, so attackers, they will not be able to do it from their location, and at least they need to be in your location first before they can do anything. It's also possible, of course, they may compromise virtual machines, but it's harder than do it from their own machine if you have all IP addresses allowed. That's the first thing. Second one, you mentioned about firewall. So firewall itself will not find may not find malicious traffic, or may not, depends to which remote access point this container will connect. But at least at minimum, if port is not standard, that may be blocked. If you place firewall and all traffic goes through firewall, it may say, hey, why port 4444? So this port is not standard. We don't use this port. Yeah, of course, attackers can do the same through port 443. I'm using 4444 just for demo purposes. So that may be first thing that may filter unstandard ports. Also, you may whitelist IP addresses to connect. That's also possible. And also, if firewall has threat intelligence built in. So, for example, in Azure, we have Azure Firewall. And if SKU of this firewall is premium, let me just provide it. If SKU is premium, so in that case, you will have threat intelligence built in. And if the IP address that it's trying to connect to is known by Microsoft as malicious, that will be blocked. So that also may happen. So yeah, if you place firewall, it will be much better, of course, and configured properly to only allow specific addresses to connect, specific ports, and if it has built-in threat intelligence, of course, it will increase your chances to be better protected. You're welcome. Oh, what it was? Someone tried to connect to it. Hey, what it was? I wonder who is. US.
Okay.
Do you have maybe a write-up of the demos you performed? I have notes, my own notes I'm using for demo. I'm not sure if it's useful for you, but I do have them. And let me just open that real quick. So it looks like that. So just commands. So first we pull that from registry, say that is a file, then we unzip, unzip the whole image, then unzip specific layer tar, copy my Trojan there, zip it again, modify with information about, not really sure why I placed this node, and zip it as the new one. So notes like this I do have, but not really full explanation, but just on the commands I'm executing.
Yes. Thank you everyone for asking questions. Can I ask the last question? It's like it's a pretty advanced session that we have, and I'm curious if there is someone who is a beginner who wants to learn about securing containers in Azure. What's your best advice? Where do they need to start?
I would say the biggest problem with understanding container security is to understand containers. They should learn containers.
Okay.
So do some basic things like, first of all, so learn how they can build image using Docker, how they can push that to the cloud. Things I showed here, like on this slide. Not on this one, of course, but on this one. So make sure that they try all of this themselves. Then, if they want to go deeper, they may add a pipeline to it, because in the real world, we don't do it manually, to be fair. We have a pipeline that will create image for us, that will push that to the container registry, also deploy that as a container in Kubernetes. So the next step is do it like this. After they understand this full life cycle, then they can start to work with security. I think Microsoft learned that there was a module about secure containers. So they will tell you about privileges in container registry. They will tell you about container instance in Kubernetes, and components like authenticate there with the Azure AD credentials and configure private endpoints. So first of all, understand containers, because quite often when I'm also an instructor, and when I teach people, and if I just start from container security, I realize, oh, they don't understand what the hell is that, because they don't understand containers. So start from containers in general, and then security will become a bit more obvious.
Yes, thank you so much for the answer. Yes. Yeah, so I think our time is over. It went quick, Håkan. Yes,
so we
go
should
ahead,
also
Håkan.
we should also show here the link here for connecting to our ICA.
Zoom. Yes. And Sergey is also joining us for 50 minutes.
Should we jump there?
After we end the live stream, we can go there.
Okay. Let me say, maybe not everyone will go there, so let me at least say bye to everyone. Bye and see you again. For those who will not join, then bye. For those who will, see you there. And I hope that demo was informative. And the primary goal of that demo was not to teach you how to hack, at least not the primary goal, but the goal is to convince you that you should just pay a bit more attention on security. Not only sometimes developers think like, oh, we don't care about that security, so just give us all permissions you have, and that will allow us to build our applications and build containers and so on. But I just want to convince you that that may cause some problems. So now everyone must be involved in security. So
yes. Yeah, we thank you so much, Sergey, for the great session today. It's very much appreciated by our audience and members of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
See you.
yeah, and see you on our Fika. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Håkan and Sergey. Have a great weekend.
Yep.
Thank you.